Okay, so imagine this. You wake up at 4:30 in the morning, it's cold, your body is sore from yesterday, you didn't sleep enough, and somebody is already screaming at you to get up and run 5 kilometers before the sun even thinks about rising. Welcome to level 1. Now fast forward 15 years. You're sitting in a big office. People are standing outside waiting to meet you. Your name has a designation next to it. You make decisions that affect an entire district. Same career. Completely different life. That's what we're talking about today. The full journey of a police officer, from the very bottom to the very top. And trust me, this isn't your typical Here Are the Ranks video. We're going inside. The grind, the politics, the power, the pressure. All of it. 5 levels, 1 career. Let's go. All right. Level 1, the cadet. So you just cleared the written exam, the physical test, the medical, the background check. Basically, you survived a process that eliminated like 90% of the people who applied. You're feeling pretty good about yourself. You think the hard part is over. Bro, the hard part just started. Day 1 of training academy and they take away your phone, your casual clothes, your attitude, everything that made you feel like an individual. Gone. You're now a number in a uniform. The schedule is brutal, and I mean that in the most literal way possible. You're up before 5 every single morning. Physical training starts immediately. Running, push-ups, obstacle courses, and this isn't like gym training where you can take a break when you feel like it. Here, if you slow down, somebody is literally in your face asking you why you're wasting their time. The afternoons are classes, law, procedure, the Indian Penal Code, CAR PC, Evidence Act. There's a mountain of theory and you are expected to memorize it. Not understand it, memorize it. Because in the field, you need to recall sections instantly. There's no time to Google. And then there's the discipline side of things. Your bed has to be made a specific way. Your boots have to shine like mirrors. Your uniform has to be pressed perfectly. If a single button is even slightly off, you're doing extra drills. They're not being mean for no reason. They're teaching you that in this job, details matter. A badly tied shoelace today could become a sloppy investigation tomorrow. That's the logic. The social life, basically zero. You're in a residential academy, surrounded by other cadets, and everyone is too tired to do anything fun. Your idea of relaxing is getting 8 hours of sleep on a Sunday. But here's the thing nobody tells you about the cadet phase. It's actually kind of beautiful in a weird way, because everyone around you is going through the same thing. The guy next to you is just as exhausted, just as sore, just as homesick. And that creates a bond. The friends you make in the academy, those are usually your friends for life, because you suffered together. The cadet phase lasts anywhere from 6 months to about 2 years, depending on the country and the force. By the end of it, you walk differently. You sit differently. Something changes in you. You become more disciplined, more alert, more structured. And then they hand you a badge. And just like that, you're level 2. Okay, level 2, the Constable. You've graduated from the academy. You have a uniform that's actually yours now. You're posted to a station. And your first day, you walk in thinking you're going to be fighting crime and catching bad guys. Reality check incoming. Your first week as a constable involves a lot of standing at checkposts, standing outside courts, standing at traffic intersections. You're doing the most basic ground-level work in the entire system. And honestly, it's important, but nobody is going to tell you that. The shifts are long, like really long. In many places, a constable works 12 to 16-hour shifts because there's a shortage of manpower. You're supposed to work 8 hours, but the station is understaffed, so you stay, and you stay, and you can't exactly say no because you're at the bottom of the hierarchy. The pay at this level is, let's just say it's not why anyone becomes a constable for the money. In India, for example, a constable's starting salary is somewhere around 20 to 25,000 rupees a month. After years of brutal training and a competitive selection process, it's one of the biggest disconnects in public service, the amount of risk these people take versus what they get paid. Now, the work itself, constables are the people who actually do the most direct interaction with the public. When someone calls the police, a constable is usually the first person to show up. You're responding to domestic disputes, accidents, theft complaints, street fights, and every single situation is different. Every house you walk into has a different problem. You have to read the room fast, every time. You also learn very quickly that being a constable means being the messenger. Senior officers give orders, and you execute them. You might think a decision is wrong, you might see a better way to handle something. But your opinion wasn't asked. You do the job, you follow the chain of command, and you keep your mouth shut. That can be frustrating, especially if you're smart and ambitious. But here's what the good constables understand. This phase is where you learn the street. No textbook teaches you how to talk down an angry drunk who's threatening his family. No exam teaches you how to recognize when someone is lying versus when they're genuinely scared. The constable years are your real education. The ones who succeed at this level are the ones who stay humble, stay observant, and keep learning even when nobody is teaching them. And if they study hard enough, because promotions in many police forces require written exams, they start climbing, and eventually they reach level 3. Level 3. Sub-Inspector. Now we're getting somewhere. Reaching Sub-Inspector is a significant jump. Either you cleared the SI Direct Recruitment exam and joined at this level, or you worked your way up as a constable and passed the promotion exam. Either way, you're now in a different position, both literally and in terms of how people treat you. At this level, you actually start handling cases. You're the one writing fear fires, first information reports. You're doing initial investigations. You're recording statements, visiting crime scenes, coordinating with forensics sometimes. The paperwork is enormous, by the way. People see police on TV, and it's all running and chasing. In reality, a huge chunk of the job is writing. Reports, statements, charge sheets, case diaries. The documentation never ends. You also have constables reporting to you now, and this is the first real test of your leadership, because managing people is completely different from being managed. You have to figure out how to get the best out of people who maybe don't want to work hard, or who are older than you and resent that someone younger is giving them instructions. The pressure at this level is interesting because it comes from both sides. Your seniors are expecting results. The public is expecting you to solve their problems, and you're in the middle trying to balance both while also doing actual investigative work. One thing that hits many SIs hard is what I'd call the reality gap. In training, they teach you the ideal version of how policing works. Innocent until proven guilty, proper procedure, everything by the book. And then you get into the actual job and you realize that the system is overloaded. Courts are backed up. Evidence gets complicated. Witnesses don't show up. Cases that should be simple become a mess. You also start experiencing the political side of policing for the first time. Pressure from local politicians, pressure from influential families. Somebody calls someone who calls someone, and suddenly a case that was straightforward gets complicated. Learning how to navigate this without compromising your integrity, that's one of the hardest things about this level. The SIs who thrive are the ones who are sharp, detail-oriented, good at talking to people, and have enough emotional toughness to handle daily doses of human tragedy without breaking. Because this job exposes you to the worst moments of people's lives. Every day. And you have to stay functional. Level 4. Inspector. Okay, now we're talking. The inspector is one of the most important operational ranks in the police system. You're now potentially in charge of a police station, what's called the Station House Officer or SHO in India. That means everything that happens in that station's jurisdiction is ultimately your responsibility. Think about what that means. Every crime reported in your area, every case filed, every interaction your officers have with the public, you're accountable for all of it. If one of your constables misbehaves, it's your problem. If a case gets delayed, it's your problem. If the public in your area feels unsafe, it's your problem. The leadership demands at this level are intense. You're managing a team, which means performance reviews, duty rosters, making sure your people have what they need to do their jobs. You're also the face of law enforcement in your area. Local businesses know you, politicians know you, citizens come to you directly with problems. The workload is genuinely insane. Inspectors in busy urban stations often work without real days off for months. Something is always happening. There's always a case that needs attention, a situation that needs to be handled, a decision that needs to be made. Your personal life takes a serious hit at this level. Missed birthdays, missed anniversaries, being on call even when you're technically off. That's just the reality. But the authority, and I say this without glamorizing it, the authority is real now. When you speak, people listen. The years of grinding through lower ranks have given you credibility and experience that commands respect. You're also, by this point, deeply embedded in the community you serve. You know the local troublemakers, the community leaders, the areas where problems brew. Good inspectors are almost like community doctors. They know the neighborhood, they spot trouble early, they manage relationships. The corruption question also becomes very real at this level, because now you have actual power, which means you're also in a position where people will try to buy that power. The offers can be subtle, a favor here, a gift there, or they can be very direct. The inspector who maintains integrity at this level in spite of all the pressure and all the temptation is genuinely remarkable. Many do, but the system makes it very hard. This is also the level where ambition kicks into a higher gear, because above this is where things get really different. Level 5, the top of the mountain. Senior officers, Superintendent of Police, Deputy Inspector General, Inspector General, and above. At this level, you're not a police officer in the same way you were at the bottom. You're an administrator, you're a strategist. You're a public figure. To reach here, especially as an IPS officer in India, you cleared one of the hardest examinations in the world, the UPSC Civil Services exam. Or you climb through the ranks through decades of promotions, which is equally hard in a different way. Either way, you earned your spot. An SP, Superintendent of Police, is responsible for an entire district, not a station, not a zone, an entire district. The population you're responsible for could be hundreds of thousands of people. You're coordinating multiple stations, multiple units, handling sensitive cases that can have political implications, interfacing with the government, managing media relations when big incidents happen. The pressure at this level is almost existential, because when something goes wrong in your district, a communal riot, a high-profile crime, a law and order breakdown, the entire attention of the government, the media, and the public comes down on you. There's nowhere to hide. Your name is in the news. Your decisions are scrutinized publicly. The schedule is relentless in a different way than a constable's schedule. You're not physically running obstacle courses anymore, but you're in meetings from morning to night. You're reading intelligence reports, reviewing case files, attending government briefings, doing press conferences. The mental load is enormous. One of the most interesting shifts at this level is how removed you become from actual ground-level police work. You're now working with data, reports, policy. The last time you personally responded to a crime scene might have been years ago. Your power is in strategy and decision-making rather than direct action. The political exposure is also maximum at this level. Senior officers interact directly with ministers, chief ministers, sometimes the central government. Staying professionally independent while navigating that political environment requires extraordinary skill. There are IPS officers who've been known for their integrity, who transferred rather than compromise. And there are those who played politics. The ones history remembers are usually the first kind. And then, there's what this career does to you personally. By the time you reach this level, you've spent 20, 25, 30 years in a profession that demands everything. You might have a family that barely saw you. You might have health issues from years of stress and irregular schedules. You definitely have seen things that most humans never see: tragedy, violence, corruption, injustice. The psychological weight of that is real. But here's the other side. Senior officers who did their job with integrity, they retire knowing that they protected people. They closed cases that gave families closure. They stopped crimes that never happened because they prevented them. They built systems and trained the next generation of officers. That's not nothing, that's actually everything. So that's the journey. 5 levels, cadet to senior officer. And here's what I want you to take away from this. Every single level of this career is hard. Not hard in a romantic movie cop kind of way, hard in a real, unglamorous, sacrifice everything kind of way. The cadet who's running at 5 in the morning, the constable working a double shift because nobody else showed up, the SI drowning in paperwork while also managing witnesses and court dates, the inspector who missed his kid's school play for the 3rd year in a row, the senior officer who's carrying the weight of an entire district's safety on their shoulders. These are real people. And whether or not you agree with every decision the police ever make, and you don't have to, understanding the system they work inside and the pressure they operate under matters. Most of them didn't join for the power. They join because they wanted to do something. And most of them, at every level, are just trying to do that thing in a system that makes it very, very hard. That's the POV. That's the life. If this video hit different, drop a comment. Tell me which level surprised you the most. And if you want more of these career deep dives, you know what to do. I'll see you in the next one.